that was quite a night. And we went over there and did the press conference or whatever, and got to hear that one lunatic walk by and got that. I don't think anybody else put that video out there other than us.
Mm-hmm.
He comes by and he says, "What did he say?" He said, "If you're gonna cuck yourself, go fuck yourself."
Yep. Yeah, go fuck yourself. You're gonna cuck
walked
yourself.
by, screamed that to Vivek Ramaswamy or whatever at the prayer, and I turned around and got a good old photo of him, and turned back around. Everybody else got the cameras on him, and
he handled it
pretty
well.
Good. It got 100 and some thousand views, I guess, on Instagram, but it didn't take off like it should. It deserved better, I'll say.
Oh, that's a shame.
It did. We could have pushed it a little more.
Yeah, Mike Trump did his thing too. We were up here on the stage, and like I said, it was just us two on the end with these rinky-dink phone camera stands, and then $100,000 cameras all the way down through there. That's, the real big deals. And we're just sitting up there and camped out on the best spot you could possibly have.
It was great.
Yep. We went in there and basically
how did you manage to do that?
Yeah. We had the press passes and stuff, and the people there liked us because we were actually libertarian press. And so,
they did. They gave us some priority.
Stuff up. Like I said, we were at the very end of the bleachers, had them, so everybody else had to maneuver and snake through and walk down. We were on this end. We got to see people coming in and out, talking to them. That's where we saw Spike. And so, yeah, it was
excellent.
It was good. I don't think it would have been better if we had Cornwallis and Lincoln up there with us, walking around slamming.
That's right.
Double shots of whiskey and reciting
Gettysburg
Address by memory.
Right by Ford Theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I was trying to catch you in something. I was trying. I took your advice. We're back. I'm your host, Billy Riddle. With me is my co-host who
falls for it every time.
Who loves a 3% tax on tea. Simon Winch.
I don't even know how to respond to that, Billy.
Well, I'm just saying, just spitting out facts. It's your job to.
It was a waste of good tea, is all I can tell you.
It's a hell of an introduction.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a kick in the throat, actually.
It is. He comes out, blazing.
Yeah. What did I do to deserve that? It's fresh out of the gate. You're on fire this evening, Billy. On fire.
Everybody earns their keep around here, and I think we all can quite understand that. I have beef with a lot of people out there, and I take it out on them through this show, and not necessarily in a bad way, but like fellow musician Joshua Grace. I've got my reasons. I was thinking about that today. I was like, I've got my reasons why I give him crap, and he has earned every.
So there's no such thing as bad advertising, Billy. So,
no,
I'm seeing the positive side of that, and actually, you're doing him a great favor.
No, more people have probably listened to his shitty music because of me, because it opens up every single show and ends most of them than he could have ever dreamed. Like he should be a subscriber at least at patreon.com/getontap for $3 a month. How many times have I went
dime a day?
One dime as minimum. All you got to do. How many times have I went out and supported his music and stood there and clapped and made him feel like you're doing a good job, buddy. You know what I mean? How many times I've showed up and bought the beer and people say, "Wow, they bring a crowd." Well, it's not because he's good music. It's because we feel bad for him and want to say, and nothing. Can't get $3 a month from him. I mean, he should probably be able to afford 5 to 10. Honestly,
you would have thought.
Honestly. So, anyways,
yeah, let's get him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Josh. I love you.
Well, hopefully we'll get him back on the show. There's some really good music shows I've got lined up. I just want to take advantage of. I really want to get Junior Sisk on here. I think everybody and their cousin listens to this. I mean, every time you turn around, Junior Sisk is topping the charts in his genre of bluegrass, like every single week. Every song he puts out is top 5, top 10, number 1. He's just right on here down the road. And obviously, I want to get Billy Hurt back on here again because he's a lot of fun. That's a good cabin show, getting Billy Hurt on because he doesn't mince words, and he's just one of the finest fiddlers on the planet. Not being hyperbolic, right? I mean, that's a fact. I mean, every time I've had phenomenal fiddlers on the show before, I've had Grammy-winning fiddlers on the show before, and I asked him, who Billy Hurt is. Like, oh yeah. Billy Hurt shows up to a fiddle competition. Everybody else puts their shit back in the box. And that's just how it is.
Well, he performed up there. Was it two July 4ths ago?
Yeah, up there at the party on the mountain.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Crawford and Powell want to get them back on the show, Cole. We got a lot of really good musical acts. I mean, it was the start of the Crooked Road right here. We should try and get to the point we can celebrate that a little bit more often.
Should we disclose the person that we're carrying favor with at the moment?
For what?
To come on the show?
I told Chip about it. I don't know. I mean,
I think we'll just keep it discreet.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get into it on the after show. Maybe. And you can hear the after show by going to patreon.com.
That's a good tease.
/get on tap.
After show's a good tease. That's a good idea.
And become a subscriber, because honestly, if this happens, you subscribers are going to get a chance to come up there and by just being a subscriber. Obviously, the people who've been there for 12 months and however long we've been doing it are going to get more balls in the lottery draw. And I mean, they've been there for a while. But
can you rephrase that?
You know, the lottery balls.
It's too late. Yeah, I can't unsee what I'm seeing.
Well, I don't.
Anyway. Yeah, you don't want to see that.
So our subscribers at patreon.com/get on tap, they'll get probably first dibs. A handful of them will be able to come up there and attend this event, because it will be an event. And you know, if you haven't been subscribing for a while, don't think, and look, I appreciate it if you just want to go subscribe right away. But, you know, if you want to jump to $20 a month or something, yeah, I'll put you closer to the top with the rest of those guys. But if you just do $3 a month to try and get on and listen to what this is going to be and get an opportunity, because it's going to be fun. This will be one we can get Henry back up there. We can probably get Spike to come back for. Not that either one of them are remotely related to what this guy does, but, you know.
Everybody's going to know this guy, though.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes. And it's very serendipitous how this conversation even came to be, because me and Chip have had conversations about this guy, and me and Simon just had a conversation about it. And me and my brother had one before Simon and I did. And none of us knew we were all, you know, all coming from completely different angles. So I think that's the universe kind of telling us, look, this is an opportunity here. So
it's aligning.
Yeah. So go to our Patreon page, and that gives us a chance to, you know, do cool, you know, be able to reach out and do cool things like that, make it a little more ambitious.
We're looking to engage with.
Yeah, and look, we have
just
really
for a dime a day.
We have really started coming with. We have really started coming with the after shows about every single week now. So you're getting an extra 30 to 45 minutes of content nobody else gets to listen to. We're a little bit more raunchy with it. And like I said, we want to.
That's a bit of an understatement.
Well, we just, you know, we want the subscriber base to get a little bit of something extra. And like I said, you kind of get involved more in our community, and, you know, we point you in directions that we're going with, people we're going, you know, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a community of like-minded, not hive mind, but just like people that strive to be better. I don't care what you want to be better at. Just don't expect me to hand it to you. I just want to, you know, so our subscribers, you know, cool stuff like that. We'll talk about that on the after show. I guess we're winding down here, still in the Timcast RL studios for a few more weeks, but hopefully soon we'll be up there in the mountain studio with cameras and the works. And we got some big people coming up there for that. And the first show will probably be a big event as well. But you know, for everybody else out there that helps us out, Rocky Mountain Smokehouse, Rocky Mountain Burger Company. I saw it was Brian's birthday the other day. Can't go wrong going in there. And hopefully once the cameras get going and stuff, we can figure out how to mobilize them. We can start doing a few shows up here in the Barrel Room. And, you know, what I would like to get to the point is
Bradley
to where
Kennett, we can't keep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bradley
Blake Holcomb, a bunch of those guys, or Caleb Flora, obviously. Yep. Isaiah Rickman, don't talk about him enough. And people at Lehman's Electric and Plumbing, that'd be my mom and stepdad's business. Since she's babysitting my kids right now, I feel like I gotta always throw them out there.
Plug, yeah, for sure.
You know, they're all top notch. Them, Isaiah, you know, everybody we named, all top notch people. You know, give them a look. So, yeah. What were you gonna say?
I wasn't going to say anything. I was kind of just waiting for some inspiration from you, Billy.
Well, you know. Are we still the number one podcast in the German Baptist community? I mean, that's the question that I want to know.
Oh, now, it's funny you should bring that up, because I think Billy is on a firm belief through a network and inside sources that we are, in fact, the number one show in the German Baptist community.
I have no doubt about it. I mean, just by the sheer numbers alone, and I'm hoping that we can start reaching into the Mennonite and Amish community as well. Like, look, I know you can't listen to it, but just encourage your buddy, the English guy that you talk to, to pull it up on Spotify or whatever, just kind of having his pocket walking around playing it. And you just kind of follow around behind him wherever he goes. Because it's a great show for y'all too. I mean, we're all, I think I aspire to be like those people. Honest to goodness, I mean, if it hits a fan tomorrow, who's living? Cockroaches and the Amish.
That's right.
And Amish Light, the Mennonites and the German. I mean, they're the ones who are surviving, and probably a handful of Mexican fellows around here that'll tag along with them and be like, look, we'll work some deals out, y'all.
Where's this going?
Oh, Lord. That's the truth. And then, of course, Appalachians, of course, will be surviving. But, I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah, that's pretty determined.
Anyway, we're back with Chip Slade. Obviously, you hear him again. We were supposed to have our good friend Amos, who is very well known throughout the German Baptist community, probably for more notorious reasons than, community outreach or anything like that. Not saying he won't, reach out a helping hand, but anytime I'm around other people in the church, and there's either one or two reactions I always get when I mention Amos. It's either yeah, I know Amos, or it's one of those, I know Amos. You know what I mean?
That's my favorite part of going to Bowling's. I go to Bowling's place before I come in for the podcast all the time. It's my favorite thing to go in there and just mention Amos Denton and just see the reaction, because it's great. It never disappoints.
It's almost worth going in with a GoPro.
That's right.
You really
That's
should.
a good idea.
And tonight we're being joined by Daniel.
Yep.
Meade, is that how you pronounce it?
That's
Meade.
it.
Okay, because everybody, I know y'all get down there in the hollers, and a lot of people listen to the show. I know you see back and forth. You run the
Southwest Virginia Patriots
page, which is right up there above us a little bit, and the amount of people that follow it and gets great traction. A lot of people seem to be interested in what you're doing. So I'm glad you come up here tonight. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I have a kinship with Coal Country. I went to Emory Henry for a couple years, and my roommates down there, when I got back from basic training, were all from Russell County. It was one of them, I think they both went to Graham. And then we had one guy that lived kind of in the suite. We just let him stay in there. And I think he went to Tazewell, and he might have been the only black kid at Tazewell. I think that was his claim to fame. Awesome people. And then I get to Radford after I get back from overseas. I'm like, I'm going to change schools here because, I know everybody at Emory, and I just got back from and I want to be able to get lost, but still, be able to be close enough to hang out with some people. And I get up there, and of course there's Tazewell County people living above me. And then, of course, I went overseas with a bunch of people from Gate City and Hayside and, all those, Lee County, Scott County, all those places down there, because the unit was out of Gate City. So it was about 75 to 80, maybe 90 Gate City people, and then about 60 Rocky Mountain, Martinsville people. So it was quite the combination. So living down there and all kinds of stuff, and end up marrying a girl from down there. So my roommates from college at Emory and the girl that I lived under at Radford my first year, they actually ended up getting married, and both from, Tazewell County, and they now live here in Franklin County. So we see them all the time. It's wild. So, I've always enjoyed it down there. And I guess, first,
what's I think we should hear more about your podcast and
I'm nowhere near where you all are at. And I dabble in it right now. I do a lot of Facebook Lives. Really the start of Southwest Virginia Patriots was this idiotic idea of the local school system deciding that they were going to build a $5 million football stadium in the county seat of Lebanon. And I'd made a video, and it kind of went viral there locally. And that's really what got me into local politics. Well, if they're going to spend $5 million on a football stadium, what else are they doing? And it's kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, that's, kind of.
I mean, that's where we put off. Well, we went from putting our toe in the water to a head first in the wood chipper. Mm-hmm. So getting into that local politics, where we can affect change, is actually being very good,
right?
And the engagement, for the most part, that we've got has been very positive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a platform where you can expose a lot of poor management and policies locally. Right. Whether you can change it, I don't know. I don't know if you're the problem is we always come up against. We'd love to be able to change it locally, but Richmond is holding the carrot and the stick.
Right.
So a lot of the times their hands are tied with that process. And I'm sure that's the same.
Yes. Dwayne Helbert, he's one of the guys down there in Russell County. He's the one that turned me on to you guys. He was like, you and him are talking about the same thing. So, I mean, I guess misery loves company. It was very refreshing to see that Russell County.
Shit.
It was refreshing to see that Russell County is not the only one. I mean, you're right. Richmond does hold the carrot to the stick on a lot of things, but there are a lot of things locally that you can change with the management of money, the things that you're spending money on, and just bringing light to, some of the things that are going on behind closed doors. I've taken a lot of heat from that, which is, I'm sure you all get the same thing.
Well, I mean, that frustration always stems from a lack of engagement and transparency from whichever entity you're looking to deal with or have engagement with. So, but that may just be, the school board, it may be town council, it could be the board of supervisors for Franklin County. There's...
Well, the most important, and especially rural counties, Southwest Virginia, the Appalachian region, is sheriff. Because a sheriff, as we found out during the lockdowns, can do an awful lot to keep your community from losing its freaking mind. And
very much so.
We also saw when the whole gun rights issue was coming, when sheriffs around the county, around the state of Virginia, started saying we want to enforce these laws. Some of them went as far as saying they'll deputize every single citizen. Now imagine that power. Imagine, right. And I was thinking about this driving up the road the other day. If I was to be sheriff here and they initiated the draft again, I would say I will deputize every single citizen in this county to protect them from coming in and getting one single person to go fight their stupid banker wars. Mm-hmm. I will not have it. Mm-hmm. And if you come into this county as a federal agent, we will do or anything. I mean, that's what I would do and why not? You're a sheriff. You can deputize the people. You can make that happen.
You have to have people willing to do that, though. What I've found in Russell County is that there's not a lot of people willing to go up against even little government, let alone big government.
Well, I think the case in point there, I'm not singling out Sheriff Overton by any stretch, but his position is funded by the state, I think, to the tune of 60%. Mm-hmm. So, who's holding the stick?
Right.
So, those sort of influences, even though it's an elected position and hopefully we all have the ability to have the right sheriff in control, because sheriff in times of strife holds the key.
Yeah,
the key. So you've got to get the right guy in. But is it fair for him to be held under ransom from Richmond with a 60% of his salary as its source? Probably not.
Right.
I'd say that's a bit of a conflict of interest.
Well, that's a simple fix, though. If you end up losing half your budget, then you might have to let half your guys go and say, look, we just might not need this kind of police, and there's things we don't need to take care of. Let's focus on things we do. But guess what? Now in this town, everybody is armed. We're not going after anybody for gun things. So if you come on somebody's property and mess around, then you're going to find out. And, if people know that the sheriff has their back on that front, that if somebody does come and obviously you have to do investigations, but most of the time they all should pan out, especially nowadays where everything's on freaking video, then hey, if you come on somebody's property, you're going to find out. I'm not arresting that person for protecting their property. I don't care if it's a CD player,
Well, the power of the sheriff's office is immense. And if he was freed up to act in the interests of the county and not necessarily the state, I think that would be a really good way forward. Mm-hmm. Is to be able to fund the sheriff in that entirety from county budget, not looking to get 60% of it from state, because that's clearly a conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm. We could definitely find other ways to keep those people employed as well. I mean, I know half of people want the police how it is, and there's a big chunk of people want it to privatize, and I think there's some bad avenues that can take as well. But if you privatize it down to a local community aspect, I'm talking Callaway's got a couple, Henry's got a couple, then that's pretty much all you really need. I mean, if And once again, it's like the border issue. This is, problem 817 down the line that you have to get to. You have to start removing a lot of these taxes we are paying, nonsense taxes. Let us start keeping more of our money. Then communities do get together. That's when Callaway Firehouse was thriving, was 50 years ago, and everybody in the community wasn't having all their money stripped from them, not nearly as much. The dollar went a lot further, and they kept those places up. Mm-hmm. They cared. Can't these days. Why don't the church do more? Because people who give to the church right now are strapped. Well, you know what I mean? They can't. And every time a church does try to, you make them pay all kinds of permits to feed the poor. Are you out of your freaking mind?
Well, we're now seeing a trend, and I've been listening the last couple of weeks, where some of the surrounding counties are hiring professional firefighters, maybe as administrators and upper echelon within that department. And I see that as a trend that will continue, which is a sad reflection on the volunteers that do put it in. There's just not enough of us. I say us, and that's I'm not including myself there at all. There's not I do volunteer work, but not with the fire department. We're going to face that problem, and again, that will be another funding stress test of local funding. So these are all massive funding problems are ahead of us, and it comes down to local budgets, and we've seen how cocked up that whole situation is, where the state doesn't issue its budget, the county has to do his, and the school board has to get theirs for approval before the county budget, and it doesn't work in harmony with the state budget. I mean, it's an absolute bloody farce.
But that's on purpose.
Well,
like everybody says the system is broken. No, the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
That way.
Yeah, it's with efficiency in mind, and now I think we unnecessarily closed 2 schools here in Franklin County, at least prematurely, because the state, I think, would have resolved that funding issue. So we pulled the trigger a bit too quickly. But hey, it's happened. It is what it is. But yeah, that stress on local budgets is it's coming down the pipe.
Well, same thing in Russell County. We just recently closed 2 schools. The teacher salaries in Russell County have been awful for years, decades.
Yeah.
And I've been one of the ones advocating for finding ways in the budget to figure out to, pay these teachers. Over the last 2 years, we've lost, I think they said 51 teachers to surrounding counties. As their teacher salaries go up, ours remain stagnant. Of course, they're going to leave. So we elected, we had an election just this last year, and we elected some new people. At no point was school closure discussed in any public meeting. And then all of a sudden, within a 30-day span, we're told that 2 schools one of them is questionable whether they needed to shut it down, but the other one in my community, there was no reason to shut it down, and they were using this excuse of, well, we got to find a way. I get that, and one of the board members had said, we've not been provided with any solutions on how to fix this problem. Well, you all were discussing all this stuff in executive session. How are we supposed to provide solutions to problems we don't even know exist,
right?
Or even being a part of the conversation? So
and at the end of the day, as I'm sure the situation is identical, your county board of supervisors controls and basically it says yay or nay to the school board budget. Right. It's a very uncomfortable position that I think the whole country is facing now with the state pulling funding. The solutions are not good, what they're coming up with, because closing schools and then having kids on a bus for 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day, whilst trying to get an 8-hour education.
Right.
Mm-hmm. This is ludicrous.
Yeah, they've said that future school closures were not even going to be discussed, but I don't believe that.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, there's no way. There has been a movement, specifically in Lebanon, in my opinion, to have that be the main school, and all surrounding communities will be bused to that school. I'm convinced of it.
That's what we have going on here.
That centralization happened here, and we are suffering the consequence of it. And in one hand, this was going back must be 8 or 9 years now. I was at a firehouse meeting, it's just one of those open forum, and they came up. Anyway, our particular board of supervisor made the statement that it was all great to have everything centralized in Rocky Mount with the middle school and the high school. One middle school, one high school, servicing one of the biggest geographical area counties in the state. And he's saying the unity and everything was such a great thing. And in the very next statement, he said, but the biggest thing that we have to deal with is the busing and transportation costs and diesel costs that have them over a barrel.
Right.
And therein lies the problem. So taking and trying to centralize elementary schools is a horrible idea, because those kids don't need to be on a bus for 2.5 hours a day. They need to be local,
right,
to their region, and trying to centralize it just is going to put more stress on that logistic to start with. But it's going to really impact the kids that are spending that amount of time on these buses. It's absolutely ludicrous.
You know, and I get where they're coming from to a point. I mean, there was just an article in the Lebanon News about how the population continues to dwindle in Russell County because there's nothing there. But nobody wants to make any change. It's the same people. We might be electing, different people, but it's really out of the same family or the same parties. I ran
a lot of that, I think, and when you start paying politics a little bit, like I've started to see lately, a lot of that has to do with staff, because a lot of times, non-elected bureaucrats
Absolutely.
will be the ones who stick around through different, so somebody new comes in on the board of supervisors or town council, and they're like, well, this person's been here for a while. Obviously, I'm going to listen. They got to stay, and then they kind of get sucked in the middle of it as well. That's what they say about DC. Oh, we need term limits. No, you need to kick staff out after like 8 years and say, what I mean? Because those people are the ones who are, they're the ones who are really writing the stuff, right? They're writing the bills. They're the ones that stick around long after a congressman is gone. So, unelected bureaucrats are really the ones making the decisions. We need to get it back to, allowing the people to be represented. But we can't do it if we got apathy.
But the apathy is one issue. But what we're seeing, and it's become more apparent, is the administrators behind, let's say, Franklin County, Russell County, whatever, or the administrators behind the town of Rocky Mount. They have their position. They're very much like British civil servants. They've got their job. They're paid by the government. They are apolitical, and they do their job. Now, when you elect people to represent your district or whatever, or for your school district, you're hopefully getting the right person in the right job that has, I think, input over the administrators. What I'm seeing there is the greying out of that area where the administrators are calling the tune when in fact it should be our elected representatives calling the tune and telling them how to deal with whatever situations. But I think because they are the constant, having pushed back against that can be problematic, and that there is a power issue in that relationship. And I see it clear as day where our elected officials are being led when they should be leading.
Right. No,
and there's the problem.
We do the same thing with our county administrator over there. I don't know how long he's been in there, at least 7-8 years. And there seems to be a hesitancy to get rid of somebody with quote unquote experience. One of the board members I was talking to was, really before the election, well, we need to get rid of him. We need to get a fresh set of eyes on this budget and all these other things going on. Well, he really knew his way around Richmond. He knows where to go, when to go. I'm like, anybody can do that. Let's get a new set of eyes on this budget so that we can have some real meaningful change. Because like you said, we're electing new people, but those people behind the scenes are already moving the chess pieces. So with that one board meeting that you've got a month, what power do they really have to make any meaningful change?
And that complacency really is a problem. I mean, when you've got good administrators, don't get me wrong, you're not going to be complaining. They're going to be doing exactly what you would expect them to do.
Right. Patrick County has one hell of a county administrator now.
But
we got lucky on that one.
Not all the time do we see that. And when you're confronted with that problem, how do you address it? Because everyone swings around and it's, all right, well, you've got 4 years. So you've either got to re-elect someone who has a stronger personality to deal with administration in the right relationship. But you can't, once they're in, that's 4 years, you're done. And you're not really addressing the issue with the representative because you're not addressing the issue with the administration.
Right.
So, it's a difficult subject.
It is. I ran for the District 2 Board of Supervisors in the primary this last time, and I got everybody that talks about me and the things that I say on Facebook is, well, you're too loud, you're too brash, that's not the way we do things. Well, seems to me the way that we're doing things isn't working. So maybe we should try something different. We need to elect people that are going to be flipping some tables in there. And I just don't see enough of that.
Yeah, like there's a reason why Donald Trump resonates with so many people.
Absolutely.
There's a reason. It's because he walks into a room, he looks around, and he says it how it is. Right. That's it. It's not, he's not being disrespectful, I don't think. He's not, I mean, he might be being a little cocky, but when he walks in the room, like when at the LP convention, what he say? He said, they started booing him, and he said, "Look," he said, "you can come work with me." He said, "Oh, you can stick around 3% and be losers." You know what I mean?
He did. He was Trump's Trump. I mean,
we should have got that on video because that little clip of you doing a
Trump impression,
that was priceless.
I told my wife the next time I go to get the mullet trimmed up or whatever, I'm going to get him to dye it blonde.
Oh wow.
She threatened me.
I bet she did.
I can imagine.
Which is why I have to do it now.
Oh, no.
I don't know if it's going to look like Ric Flair. I don't know if it's going to look like...
How many years have you been married, Billy?
Boy, don't put me on the spot like that.
I mean, roughly.
2018. This is 24.
Okay.
Be 7 this October.
Okay. But to take some advice from someone who's been married substantially longer, don't take that on.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. You will lose in so many different ways. Yeah. Drop that idea, Billy.
Especially this year.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to lose that argument.
So, anyway, Billy, carry on.
I think I'm still going to do it.
Oh, no.
Y'all's inspired me even more. Now, the more people that tell me I shouldn't, makes me think I'm hovering over the target a little bit. So,
well, we've already said our piece, so we can...
There's a psychological issue here that I believe needs some professional medical attention.
There's no doubt.
Did they get the $6 million football stadium or
no?
Thank goodness.
No, they didn't. After I'd posted that video, then WCYB, the local news station down there, got a hold of it, and then it kind of turned into a thing as people in Castlewood were like, well, why are we doing that? There's got to be another reason other than Lebanon, who couldn't even really field a football team that year, that they needed to do that. And nobody would ever tell me, well, that's not the first step in centralizing schools, which to this day, I still believe that that's what they were trying to do.
Oh, trust me, we've already got the same situation that got ramrodded through, and it's called a $7 million plus firehouse for Glade Hill.
That's a firehouse.
Can someone please explain how that happened and who hasn't been thrown in jail? You just can't pull the wool over my eyes on that one. I don't care.
And they'll say, "Oh, you're just being disrespectful to those firefighters." No, I'm not. You don't need that
not
kind of bill. Not in Glade Hill. I'm sorry.
It's got nothing to do with that.
No, because we talked to Amos, we could have went in there, and for $500,000 at the time when I first saw the budget, he said for $500,000 he could have built them a sweet place that they would all loved, and that's 100% accurate. So no, we could have built them a great place for a fraction of what
the budget was $5 million, and they still ended up going $7+ million on it. So shame on you.
Well, I mean.
That's a disgrace.
What are they looking to try and start buying up property in South Lake and building it or something?
I've got no idea. The thought process behind that was inexplicable. It is.
There's just not as much lake access on that side of the lake. They tried to do the whole South Lake thing down there years ago, and it just doesn't work because it's just there's not a lot of the most access is over on the 122 side because you got the entire R channel coming down. Yep. Then you follow the B channel on the other side and everything in the middle. So you got people from, all corners of the lake essentially that are right there along the 122 corridor where the South Lake is just very limited. Same thing with Bedford side.
I can see South Lake does have a limited potential.
Yes, it has a little bit of potential, but you have to know what you're doing.
But you better know your numbers.
Yeah.
And
you shouldn't have any.
And clearly, our clowns don't.
And you should be encouraging. Like your job should be. Look, I've said it before. That one Alaskan town had a cat as a mayor for like 17 years. I'm not saying mayor, but I'm just saying like, look, the job should be to attract people. Mm-hmm. You should go out there and you should.
Holland is about to come buzzing through right now that you've just said that Holland could be a cat and be a mayor for 17 years. I know the hate mail that's going to come as a result of this, Billy.
Look, I'm just stating facts. The cat was the mayor for the longest time. Take that for what I'm saying is the mayor's job. And people, whoever the chairman of the board of supervisors, these people should be going out there and enticing people, calling up companies across the country saying, hey, why don't you come here? Why don't you come here? Yeah, we'll hook you up a little bit, but this is your benefit in the long run. Don't be like, we're just going to take your dollars and build something and hope they come. Or we're going to take your dollars and build this. I mean, it's multiple failures. And, if it were me, and if you elect me as king of Franklin County, whatever that, maybe that means mayor, sheriff, and board of supervisors all at the same time, if that's possible. But here's what I would do. You want to really make this town thrive, close down the high school right here and turn that place into a damn university. I mean, it looks like one anyway. Call it Franklin University. You got the big football stadium. You got all the amenities. Turn a couple of buildings into dorm rooms, build some right there where the, smokehouse is, whatever. And then you move like 10th grade through 12th, if they want to continue on and go down whatever path, they can all do that at the middle school. But all the way up to 10th grade or 15 years old or whatever, keep them around the elementary schools. That way they're all close to home. They're all close with their community. They could be in different classrooms, but they can kind of help learn from each other. I got bigger brothers in there with little cousins and little sisters and you can focus more on what's important to your community. You can, with kids ranging in ages, you go out there and you do the farming. You show them this is how you plant stuff. You have grow gardens instead of using outside food sources. You have chickens for the eggs in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, do those sort of things. And then by the time you're in 10th grade, either way, stop the emphasis on college and at 15 or 16, if you can go learn a trade, what's the point in going to school 2 more years? Now, if you want to go, then there's the middle school. That's for 16 to 18. If you want to prep for college or do your thing, we got a university here. So we got kids coming from out of town. Parents are paying for people to go to the smokehouse and the burger company. People are coming in here spending money. People are going to the harvester and filling it up because you can cater to those people. Like, that's a good way. And then you're also emphasizing your local communities by keeping the kids there, by keeping them close, and by focusing more on a holistic side of education to where, all right, this is how you cheat the tax system to keep as much money as you possibly can. This is how you grow. This is how you get chickens. Like, and y'all's area would be so great for that because there's so many hollers back in there. It makes no sense to bus kids 40 minutes to town, mm-hmm. But that's their family up there. And if they all just kind of stuck around together and learn how to take care of that land, then that's how generational wealth starts to build. And you start, having communities that matter.
Well, we're caught in a situation where the public school system here is under stress. That's a very polite way of saying there's a dark future. And how we fix that, I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't need to be in the current structure that we have. So there's going to be some, revolutionary stuff when it comes to how we continue educating our kids. And that discussion needs to be had.
It's going to have to be had sooner rather than later, specifically.
Because, when you're talking about the budgets that schools command and what we get for it as taxpayers, unfortunately, you're not delivering. Right. They are not delivering. So as a taxpayer, we can demand change.
Right.
And, at this point where we're seeing the current way of doing business failing miserably for all sorts of reasons, we've got to come up with some pretty radical solutions. And that's what people need to come, to the table with. It's not bitch about it, all right, this is all screwed up and the money's being blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we can all have that conversation. But if you're not coming up with a solution, you're really part of the problem, and we hate bashing systems that aren't working. But if you come up with a solution, you're legitimizing the bashing.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to come up with a better way of doing business.
Well, you have all this money being invested in areas that have a much larger tax base than what Russell County does. So they're never going to bridge the gap. There's been too much time elapsed for these teachers to even get on par with Washington County. So I don't know what the future holds for public education down there. I think their budget's like close to $60 million. Like you said, we're not getting a good bang for our buck. I mean, the amount of administrators that are paid, the gap between the administrators and what teachers are being paid. I could sit here for 2 hours and talk about my grievances about that. But I'm honestly worried about what public education looks like in far Southwest Virginia, because we're not.
I think this is the problem is, if we're not following the trend that you're seeing, we're on the same path.
Mm.
So we have common ground. And we need some radical amendments to the public school system. And that conversation needs to be had 5 years ago.
Right.
So, we got some people that are going to make some very tough decisions, or some very innovative decisions to make the solution. Now, I'm in for making innovative solutions.
Right.
And that can be done.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of smart people out there in our community that could provide those solutions. We've just got to be allowed to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
I think that one of the reasons, I know that one of the reasons that they didn't bring up school closure in a public setting was that that's unpopular. I mean, it's just the way that it is. They didn't want to take the heat for it. And it's easier to hide behind the guise of, well, we were talking about personnel, and then that evolves into something else. Let's let the community come to the table and provide those solutions instead of hiding.
A lot of the solutions are out there.
Yeah.
When it comes to school pods, when it comes to taking and controlling the tax dollar that is earmarked for education, plus all the mega millions that comes out of the lottery to each county.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not disclose that. Whether they account for it correctly is one matter I have an issue with. But there are solutions. We can do this from the grassroots up, which is where it needs to come from, because it doesn't need to be instituted from Richmond. I think, with Trump almost threatening to get rid of the federal education system, I think that would be amazing, massive step forward.
Well, look how far we've fallen in our education system since they instituted that back, in the 70s?
Yeah. So, the administrators have to admit the current system is failing,
but they're
beyond
not,
repair,
because they are administrators and they're getting paid handsomely for that title.
Well, that's where we've got to engage, and I still haven't figured out, because engaging through school board meetings and all that bullshit, it's just an absolute waste of time. Right. So you've got to go really through the board of supervisors, and therein lies the same problem.
Right.
But that's the point of attack that you've got to come at, because we need solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not hearing solutions from these guys. If anything, their solutions are catastrophic, because we know where they're going.
Right.
I've seen the trend line.
Do you think he does away with the board of education or Department of Education?
I think he should.
A lame duck Trump, which is what we would have for 4 years. He could do anything. So it would not surprise me, especially if he actually puts libertarians in his cabinet like he says he would. Then you're gonna have that influence pretty strongly, I believe.
So what does that look like? Let's say Trump comes in and day one he says Department of Education Schedule F done. What does that look like for the country immediately?
I think Richmond instantly gets bigger. I mean, it works both ways. You know, it's going to be taken away from Fed, but it's going to be all given to the states. And so I don't know how much that would trickle down. I think he'd have to do more to do that. But you know, is that a win? We'll kind of have to see. I think it's going to be just like it is. It'll be state by state to see what happens.
And then it'll be up to them to decide where that money goes. I'm like you. I don't trust Richmond to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't help us in Southwest Virginia at all.
We're not.
But at least
it's an easier fight for us to rally around.
Right.
If
that's
you're
only
having to fight Richmond instead of Richmond and DC.
It's
and what it allows the county to do is reconsider. Oh, dare I say this out loud? Oh, give me strength. Is to consider how they collect their tax revenue without federal interference. So I'm looking for a county to have more control over its revenue and not shipping it up to Richmond to then seed back out to us. It opens that, I think it opens that opportunity where we're more in control of our own destinies now. And that can work very poorly for counties that don't have the population and the funding, which then you have to go to state and deal with that. Yeah. But yeah, there's all sorts of problems, but there's also lots of opportunities. And I see the opportunity there is taking control of your own financial destiny as a county within a state system. So I think that's a good thing.
And there seems to be nationwide school choice movements going on, you know, and that could change.
That is going to generate such a change in how public education is going to reform itself, because that's what it has to do.
Well, there has to be competition. I mean, now it's just, here's a bunch of money. There's no motivation to provide a superior product.
There has to be a penalty.
I mean, there's 2 or 3 private schools in Castlewood, and they stay completely full. And I would love to see that grow, because then, you know, some of the teachers have gotten after me. Well, what about us? Well, you could go to these other places and work probably for twice what you're making now, or our public schools finally get their act together and something positive comes out of it.
The private school system is, you are being absolutely brutalized by the public school system,
right?
In as far as any tax advantages or disadvantages, which are huge. So that playing field has to be leveled out. And Billy, I know you're a big fan of having tax dollars applied to the student. And that would change a lot of that dynamic. It really would.
Well, yeah, most importantly, it would encourage a lot of people to stay home.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'd be like, okay, well, now if I've got 3 kids, and you in your case, and you're getting instead of the school getting that $15,000 a year, now you get that $15,000 per kid.
You're one short of a soccer team,
right?
You know, yeah, and you use that, or
that's right.
In Simon's case, most of them get a red card in the first 5 minutes anyway for being brutes. So, an English soccer team, I guess. But no, seriously, I mean, if we got 3 kids, if we were getting what the school gets every year for those 3, which is like $16,000 or $17,000 a year around here, that's almost $50,000 for us. Yeah, I could almost not even work, or Tara could almost not even, one of the 2 of us, and you stay home and you can homeschool your kids and give them the education that's really going to benefit the community. Or say, well, I really like our job. We both have good jobs. Well, you take that, $15,000 and you all get together and say, well, hey, we got this friend who's a really good teacher. There's 10 kids. Let's all get together and pay. So some teachers are in pods. Some teachers, the only teachers that are worried about what happens if school funding gets cut by the public are the ones who cannot make it on their own. So if you think that it's going to bother you, you're probably not a very good teacher, and the free market is going to crush you. If you think you're a good teacher and then you're going to make tons more money than you ever would if the level field was
if teaching is your
level.
If teaching is your chosen career for the right reasons, you would do very well from the opportunities that are going to present themselves. I mean, you're talking in Russell County, yeah. We've got the same deal. Where am I going to go with this? Pick me up on a thread here. I've just gone left field into the grasses of.
Well, let's talk about Russell County a little bit, because, like I said, I'm fascinated with the area, and I guess for a lot of people that might be listening, that is where 49 Winchester is located. So that's been kind of an up and coming band. And of course, we always like talking about them. And of course, our friends at Crawford and Power, both of those know what it's like to be touring across the country with big acts and opening for them. And I think 49 Winchester might be a little bit more traveled at this point in time. They've grown significantly over the past couple of years.
Stapleton and everything.
Yeah, we called them here a couple months ago back to Harvester and really enjoyed it. But I mean, what do you think is the big thing for Russell County? Like, so if people want to come in and visit, or people, what would be your main tourist attraction, or something to get a little bit of encouragement?
Right now, it's a lot of investing, and we've done a ton of investing into ecotourism. We have the Clinch River, we have the Western Front Hotel in St. Paul. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to come and do down there. Unfortunately, we're talking about the county is voting tonight, actually, as we sit here, about a landfill that they're thinking about putting in down there. But I mean, it's literally a beautiful area, and so much to do with the Spearhead Trails. And
you're talking about St. Paul, they got a brewery or something there as well.
Well, they did. That went out, and then there's another one that they've opened up in Norton, which is over in Wise County. But I mean, so many restaurants. The Fat Boys Barbecue. Not trying to plug them or anything, but that's a place people up here in Roanoke tell me all the time about. Where are you from? Well, I'm from St. Paul. That's where that barbecue place is. Well, we've got so much stuff to do down there. And, it just, I'm really.
Is Coburn in Russell County?
No, it's over in Wise County too.
Okay. But so, obviously, you also have the racetrack there as well.
Got the racetrack.
That's not very far away.
Music stuff to do. I mean,
it sounds very similar to Franklin County, to be honest with you.
It looks very similar to Franklin County. Honestly.
So we share a very common path in, I think, our historical heritage.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's and embrace that.
Right. There's so much historical value down there with the the previous.
Let's not reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
People are fascinated with just the coal mining. There's a little town called Dank down there that has its own little museum, and it's a fledgling little community.
Can you all do that? Is Airbnb allowed in your county?
Yeah. As far as I know. Now, don't give them any ideas. That'll be the next thing that they try to put the kibosh to.
Don't even get me going.
Oh, yeah.
Do y'all have any active coal mines right now?
No, not in Russell County. There's some in Buchanan County, but not in Russell County. The last one, I believe, active in Russell County was over at the Moss 3 site over in Carbo. So, and once that went out, the population just like every other area, decimated it.
Well, I mean, it's been like that all over down through there. I mean, the amount of high schools and stuff that have closed down just since when I went to high school. Like, I remember they do the rundown or whatever of deep Southwest Virginia sometimes, and I mean, it's just shrinking and shrinking. There's fewer and fewer. Yeah, and those communities used to thrive. I mean, like Oakwood or Hurley. I mean, you will drive through mountains for seems like forever, not see that many people, nothing. All of a sudden, a big high school will pop up. It's like, where in the hell do these people live to come,
right?
To some of these places. But at one time, there was stuff lined up through there, and a lot of it's probably been burned down and washed away. I mean, if you go through Aminata, a lot of those places ended up burning down because when the coal mines close and things become more centralized, it's like, well, we can drive up here from Richlands or Claypool Hill a lot, easier than living up here and dealing with the hollers and stuff. So people want to move to Richlands where it's a lot more stuff because it's economic, capital. Like Grundy's economic. That's where all the coal mining money goes to open up the banks and the schools and everything. So people want to be closer. And then who moves out to those other places? Well, it's hoodlums and stuff. So things start burning down and then nobody goes to clean it up. So just like we got to find ways as a community to get in there and clean the shit up first and foremost. And I like the tourism thing. Like, take advantage these yuppies that want to come down here and spend their time, effort, money. Let's encourage them to come in our area. Say, hey, look, I mean, the beautiful sites you can visit, the homey feeling you'll get going to the bars and the restaurants and like just.
Well, that's another thing that we're struggling with right now is that's still the Bible Belt, and I can appreciate that. But the alcohol license, you can't sell beer on Sunday thing is hurting one particular restaurant in Castlewood, and I just open it up. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's between them and God.
We're dying as a
That's between them and God what day they want to take a break from drinking. You know what I mean? If they want to do it on Monday or Sunday, whatever the case may be.
And what's ironic is that restaurant sits like right here, and 5 miles down the road, you can go to Wise. Just we have to be a lot more open-minded about what we're going to have to do to bring that area back, and
that limits other new restaurants from coming in too.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
They see that they're not going to come in.
That will stifle investment,
right?
You know, and this is what your board of supervisors are designed and employed to do, is to increase tax revenue and really standard of living,
right?
Improve infrastructure, and dare I say it, you know, enhance your standard of life and ability.
Well, I mean, that's once again a big reason why I started this show is I want people to look at what we have to offer and come experience it. And I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't truly believe it and I didn't love it so much. Like everybody thinks you have to go and have a vacation in a big swanky spot with, you know, where there's got to be water and 100 restaurants stuff. Look, you could take your family and you could go down and say you stay in Russell County. You find your Airbnb in there for an entire week. You would never stop. You would eat the best food you've ever eaten before. You would see sights you never dreamed of seeing. You know, and one day you can go down to Abington. You can catch the Barter Theater. There's fine restaurants there, the Tavern, the Martha Washington Inn. You know, I sent Tara and her friend
down there too.
I sent Tara and her friend down there to the Martha Washington one weekend a couple of years ago, and I'm dropping like $600 on both of them.
You will.
That's the price I had to pay to go to a bachelor party that weekend. And
of course, that's what we're waiting for.
Yeah, in North Carolina on Lake Norman.
Billy.
Oh no,
that's one I got in the last time I got in a fist fight. That was a fun one. So, yeah, I mean, you go to the Martha Washington, then the next day you say, well, I'm going to drive north, go up into Buchanan County, go visit the breaks, do some hiking. It's the Grand Canyon of the East is what they call it. I mean, it's beautiful up and down through there. Then the next day, maybe go into Tazewell County and go up and check out some of the exhibition mines or something. Like, there's something to do in every direction. There's hiking, there's beautiful views, and the food. Like, go to Cousins. I guarantee, you've been there plenty of times. I'm telling you, like, my wife plans weekend trips to go back down and visit her in-laws around. I want to go back to Cousins. I mean, it's one of the weirdest places you ever go to. It makes no sense at all. It's kind of like this podcast, just a walking, talking contradiction run by like an Asian lady. I think she's Vietnamese or Korean. Tara's going to kill me. She went to school with his son, or he was a white dude, and she runs a place now, but it's like it's barbecue and steaks, and they'll have like egg rolls, and it's just all over the place.
It doesn't make any sense, but it is sounds
good.
Everything
amazing.
Is good. Yeah, like the macaroni and cheese, they bring it out like if you've had it before, I can't explain, but there's steaks. I mean, everything, and it's just a cool family place. Like the whole town comes in there, and it stays packed, and they're only open, during I think like March to October, November or something. So a lot of the employees in there are like teachers and stuff. So they're to do the waiting staff because they open up pretty much when the kids are done. So you got professionals in there. The waiting staff's always good. They're never messing around. Yeah, I mean, and there's another place in Richlands we like going to. It's in downtown Richlands. The River. It's a brewery or something down there, but they have good music. What is the name of that place? They have good music and pretty decent. I mean, you can go to hell with the beach. Take a mountain vacation. Go stay in Russell County or Tazewell or somewhere. They'll get you an Airbnb. Like,
how far is Bristol from there?
30 minutes.
Probably an hour and
maybe.
Oh, that's
change, maybe.
Not even.
If that, depending on what part of the county you're at. I mean, from the county line, right there at the Washington County line, you could probably be in Bristol in 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, literally within driving distance, very short. You can be at the country music thing that they've got down there. You've got the Bristol racetracks. You've got the Pinnacle that's building up the casino now.
Yeah. So if you want to do your shopping and stuff, you can still stay in Russell County in the sticks, enjoy that mountain air, do your hike and 20, 30-minute drive, be at the racetrack, be at any of that kind of stuff. Theaters, if you want your shops and stuff. Like I said, the Pinnacle's got it all. Yeah. And there's another one right down the road. There's like one in Bristol on the Virginia side, one on the Falls. Yeah. Yeah. And and I mean, they're literally like 6 miles apart, and it's two massively big shopping like centers with tons and tons of it's wild. So yeah, you've got all that stuff. I got to encourage people like mountain vacations. Come here to Franklin County. Look, it was good enough for Bill Murray, and what about Bob? You know what I mean? Good enough for him.
That's a billboard. That's a billboard.
The whole thing is, why reinvent the wheel? We've got beauty around us.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent it. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for that. That's why all these freaking hippies and Greenpeace and all these morons exist. It's because, ironically enough, they mostly live in suburban areas and cities and are trying to preserve the stuff out here. I mean, they're kind of half right about it. It's like,
what's this thing I keep hearing, right? We've had a lot of traffic back and forth. What is this thing about a splash pad? What the hell is it?
It's just a little like mini water park kind of deal.
Smaller. It's got like water sprinklers.
I mean, this has been the thing here.
Yeah, water.
We've heard it. Okay,
it's like a giant mushroom, and water comes pouring off of it. And,
but it appears to be that some of the traffic that we've had over a number of sites locally has been about this splash pad, and our county should be investing in a splash pad. I'm like, hang on, where are you folks getting why would the county invest in a splash pad? I don't understand your train of thought as to why you think that should be a county investment when that's private sector shit.
Well, everything's private sector shit, and that still doesn't stop them.
Well,
so,
I know, but
their point is, if you have things like that, you'll encourage your kids to want to stay here in town instead of leaving, and that's how you build towns, is through generational. That's how generations stick around. And if nobody wants to come here and stick around with their kids because there's not kid things to do.
To do that?
It's not, but it's a step in the right direction. That's their point. The point is it's more kid-friendly things to do. Like, you need more things for kids to want to do, for people to want to stick around.
Horseback trails, canoe, river floats.
Those things sometimes are hard for kids between the ages of 3 and 8 who with a splash pad would benefit the most.
Yeah, but that doesn't need to be county.
Neither does anything else they do out here. So that's their point. Their point is, it should be this. Yeah, everybody's going to sit there and claim what they think is going to work, and most of the time they're not going to listen to you. They're just going to do whatever they want to anyway. Right, yeah. Does the board of supervisors down there have it's kind of like kleptomaniacs with properties? Do they like going around and buying up properties and not doing anything with them?
I've not seen that yet. It's mainly helping other people come into possession of these properties that end up doing stupid things with them anyway. But they do have a stupid amount of school buildings that they've closed down, because from what I'm told, once the school closes, a particular school, then it reverts back to county property. So we've had, like in Cleveland, there's they'll rent it out for $1 a month for like charities and stuff like that. They do have a lot of buildings, but not so much buying up property for anything.
Well, man, if you go through there, a lot of times things just get dilapidated and they forget about them. I mean, if you wanted to invest into them, say, hey, look, community centers, you can come in here and, you can rent out each room, and maybe your room has a little store people or general store people in there you can come to, instead of letting a damn Dollar General pop up there, or maybe people want to have homeschool there, and that's where they want to, use those buildings for community centers so they don't fall into disrepair. You still have available space for parks and things like that. And if you maintain like the fields and stuff, you can have little concerts and stuff. Right. Or you can, but do it right. Don't let the things fall into disrepair, but do something that's going to benefit the immediate community.
Right. What's going on with the closed school at hang on, which one is it? Is it one at is it Burnt Chimney?
Henry and
there was Henry and Burnt
Chimney, I think.
What's going on with that building? There's been some stuff going on there that it kind of predates the closure vote. So they were anticipating the closure vote, and there's something doesn't sit right with what's happening there.
Well, I think we're a couple months away from doing those shows, so I guess whatever rumors we heard at the time, can we talk about them now?
I don't care.
Yeah. I'd heard at some point in time that apparently a private school had reached out about taking the place over, Burnt Chimney at least, and I think that would have been a fine idea. Somebody,
depending upon the timing of how that transpired.
Yes. I also heard potentially they were going to turn it into a 911 call center, which
I heard that too.
And then another one I heard was they might perhaps turn it into a migrant facility, and let's just go ahead and get ahead of that now.
Oh, that's a good one, Billy. That's nearly as good as the rumor that's circling around about NASA coming into Summit View.
Well, it's
you heard it here first.
All rumors, but
allegedly
intriguing.
Indeed. and dare I say, you'll appreciate this, Chip, without prejudice.
There you go.
You see how I'm picking up on that
we're wide open.
shit?
We're wide open.
Oh, yeah. I'm good now. That slate is now absolutely clear without prejudice.
So, I mean, honestly, closing that burnt chimney makes sense because you do have Windy Gap down the road.
But how much was that built for? And was that not part of another anticipation of?
Oh, don't get me started on that. Place looks like a ski lodge, while Snow Creek looks like it's a homeless shelter. And no disrespect to the place, but it's like 70 or 80 years old. Henry's fairly new. It's only about 30 or 40 years old. Why they're closing that one down makes no sense. But honestly, I'm glad they're closing them down, honestly, because the more the public school system crumbles, I think the closer we get to ripping the Band-Aid off. And I would want to cheer it and say this is great, but that's only if I thought that they would actually turn around and say, okay, well, here's your tax dollars back, but they're not. They're going to still find another way to keep taking that money. They're just going to shift it to something else that's probably going to make them more money.
Yep.
Well, the worst part about it is, when those schools close, the people that suffer is that community. I mean, that community is gone.
Devastated.
It's over.
Absolutely.
And I lived that. That's what happened in my hometown. So it's unfortunate, but that's what's going to happen. It's just going to dry that area up of any community they had. And, communities have been sort of going out. Unfortunately, we've got to get back to that though.
This is what they want though. I mean, I was kind of doing it tongue in cheek on Twitter today. I'd shared something. This guy, Ears Nation, a big mountaineer guy, West Virginia. So I'm always constantly giving him hell. We go back and forth quite a bit. And, then, he posted something about a Dollar General. He's like, they just put a new one here on wherever street in Charleston. It's like, there's one just half a mile down the road in this direction, half a mile down the road in this direction. I think, everybody's so worried about the invasion of the southern border. We need to start talking about the invasion of Dollar Generals.
It's a fair point.
Well, how many are they shutting down now?
Are they starting to shut them down?
Yeah,
my goodness!
Well, every time you stomp one out, 7 more pop up somewhere else. It's like one of those Disney cartoons when the boat, you know what I mean? Goofy goes and he spits up one hole with his thumb, and then the water pops up somewhere else, and he pops out with his thumb, and it starts coming out of his damn ears. That's what I mean.
Well, they're following the Starbucks model. I mean, they're putting one on every corner, and then if some need to fall by the wayside, that's part of their business plan.
How's that? How many of y'all got down there in Russell County?
In that same community where that school was just shut down, there's one, but then the rumor is literally within 200 yards, they're going to put one in at that old school. And I'm like, that's on par. That's what we should do. I highly doubt that that's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
I've got one in this direction about maybe 2.5, 3 miles. I got one in that direction about 1.5 miles.
I'd say there's probably at least 5.
There's one at the lake.
5 miles of my
There's one in
house.
Ferrum. There's one in Glade Hill. I know I'm missing one.
Oh, there's the one on 220.
Yeah, one on 220. That's 6. There's one on 220 in that direction. That's 7.
Yeah.
Down there in Henry.
Just to think over a few years, they can see where the sales are going to be, and so they can get rid of the ones that just aren't going to make the cut, and they can maximize what they've got.
Well, I just encourage more people to start using farms and local general stores.
That's what
like
needs to happen.
Melvin's Farm to Fork down there. We went down there the other day. My wife, she finally called us. She said, Gail called and said they got the cheese curds in. I'm going to tell you what. She calls us before y'all. If you like the cheese curds, I'm sorry. We're going down there and getting them before you. We buying them out. I got like 8 things of cheese curds in the refrigerator, right? I mean, they are good. But you got everything else down there. She has trout. She has beef. She has chicken. They have milk if you want to jump in on that. Like self-sufficient, like the things you really need. You don't need the rest of this bullshit. I don't need to go to Dollar General. I don't need, all this crap. It's like a mini Walmart. I hate it. I like to go into Gail's and talk to Gail and hang out for a few minutes and buy my food. If I want to buy something else from this person, I go to them. I can spend time with them. Like
developing a relationship.
Exactly. But so I guess get people away from phones first and foremost. Maybe good luck with that.
Let's go back to high street shopping the way it used to be. An Angle Hardware in town is it's gone through refurbishment and redesigning there. It used to be you go in there and it would be like, oh my God, I know they've got it, but I've got no idea where it is. and it was just an overload.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an old fashioned, it's
Well, was yours like ours, where you couldn't find anything, but the guy working there could take you like in a second to anything you could possibly ask for.
I figured that out pretty quick, so I'd go straight up to the crew that was working there. Bob, the owner. Bob, I'm looking for this. You'd follow him back, snake through a labyrinth of shelves and what have you. But now they've redesigned it, and you can go in there. I would urge everyone locally to support Angle Hardware, because they've done something that is helping our community. They've stuck it out with Home Depot and Lowe's and all of that. Their store is, just go in there. I dare you, all go into Angle Hardware and go, this isn't what it was.
Nice.
It's now organized. You can figure out where you need to go.
I remember how it used to be when you go in there. But see, the thing is, back in the day, though, back when that's how things were, all the people that went in there still could go right to where they didn't need to ask somebody.
Right. But because they were in there that regularly.
Exactly.
Every day.
But
because that was a more part of life, because that's how it was. That was the place in town you went. You didn't have a Lowe's to go to. That's where you needed to go. So everybody was in there every day, the people, and I want to get back to that. I mean,
but I'm seeing downtown getting revitalized in that way. Amy Worley, what she's doing there around the back with the pickers on Saturdays, I think it is. That's fantastic. I love it.
I'm really looking forward to the conference center coming in behind the Morris Hotel. I hope that's still in the works.
Yes, it is.
Because, you're talking about, well, all of a sudden, I've got a big room to have a conference. Why can't we throw in a conference, Jeff? We've been to a few here. We could throw in a podcast conference where people come in and, speak or whatever. You can get a couple of comedians, and then call in a couple of music acts to play in the local bars around. Everybody fills up the hotel. I mean, you can have conferences with authors. I mean, we can do some fun stuff.
The conference center is a phase 3 or 4. But, that whole development is revolutionary.
Where is it? Rocky Mount, or is it?
Yeah, Rocky Mount.
Okay.
It's downtown next to the library. Philip Bain's hitting it hard. Elements are opening up.
Nice.
That's actually the show that, we had him on a couple years ago, and that's kind of the show where I was like, all right, well, maybe we can make a difference locally, because out of all the we've had, I've had Bobby Labonte on here. He's a NASCAR Hall of Famer. I've had, Spike Cohen. I've had, I'm not even going to mention Termont. But there's a lot of people, a lot of big name, NASCAR drivers and local heroes and moonshiners and TV stars and all this kind of stuff. But that Philip Bain show, the most listened to show we've ever done, because like all the people locally around here they weren't getting the story, they weren't getting the truth, so everybody tuned in. And now a lot of times we do have local stuff. It's probably a big gossip thing. People just want to be nosy, but still our local shows tend to be some of the most listened to. And it's like, all right, well, now people are listening and people started jumping on and realizing that we can kind of make, like I said, I've said many times before, my cousin was ex-mayor, and I wasn't very satisfied with how things are getting done. Not to say I'm massively satisfied about how they're going now by my standards. But that's a whole different conversation in itself. So I'm not afraid to say, I don't want you, I'm tired of your nonsense. Get that, so, and we got to, somehow it works.
Well, there needs to be more local participation in podcasts like this. And that's one of the reasons that the Patriots page on Facebook has grown the way that it is, because of local. And it might be that people are just nosy but you're listening now. This is what's going on, and you're paying attention. Whereas you're not going to the board meetings per se. You're not watching it on YouTube, but you're listening to what I've got to say. You might not agree with everything that I say, but at least you're paying attention. Let's have a conversation. And
think about, since the internet came around, there's no place for people to get together and talk anymore except for the internet. And so you're creating a forum for people to talk or generating conversation, and that there's a need for that. That just does not exist anymore. So that's, there is no personal interaction anymore, where there used to be what they call them in the Roman era, salons, where people would get together and just exchange ideas. I mean, there's the opposite of that going on right now.
In England, we call them pubs.
Pubs.
Perfect. I mean, around here, though, that's the truth. Around here, it is bars or breweries. Think about how many great minds come together up at chaos, or even more, the Callaway Brewing Company, which is a big reason why you should go to patreon.com/GetOnTap and become a subscriber. Because if we can get enough money to talk Sterling into coming back here and opening up Callaway Brewing Company, everybody's life will be better. I promise you.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the things that happen up on that mountain, like historically speaking, they'll probably tell stories about it 100 years down the road and be like, yep, there's this whole, these hotels of Callaway Brewing Company and all these different kind of people up there. I mean, big acts would come through there and play music that got, went on to be, decent. And, Simon met everybody up there around here. That's how an Englishman got to hanging out on the Appalachian podcast. A brewery on the side of a mountain, honestly.
At the bottom of my driveway. I got all street credibility from Sterling on that. I thought it was just sheer genius. A brewery at the bottom of my driveway. Perfect. Can it get any better than
I mean, Chip, you've been there. There ain't nothing around. No, I mean,
it's ideal. I mean, it's going to be great when we get the regular setup going. It's going to be amazing.
But down there, you pass it because you see the Callaway Brewing sign is on. I mean, that's as remote as you can be. And there would be 150 people there on a Friday night. I mean, it was wild, just outside, inside, drinking, being merry, no fights, no nonsense, no riffraff. Because you know what? Sometimes to get something good, you got to travel and work a little bit for it.
That's right.
That's why, the town riffraff and stuff just ain't going to make their way up there. It's too long of a drive to the mountains, and they're going to be outnumbered 150 to 10.
That's it. You'll keep them out.
Exactly. And it's not that you're being, because they could come up here from town as long as you don't act like you're a fool. Nobody's going to care. You just get along and be merry. But people looking for trouble, no, that's where they're going to find trouble, and it ain't going to work out too awful well for them. So,
not only that,
it's a great crowd. Everybody's happy. Nobody's mad. Nobody's upset. And that's what we like. Callaway Brewing Company, I guess at the end of the day, was probably ultimately in the back of my mind how this show got started. I saw everything up there that was happening. Like, we need that again. Every community needs something like that. And it's not saying that you have to be insulated as well. It's not saying that, okay, well, every community's got their own, we're all going to stay here. No, maybe on this weekend you pop down to the community over there and some of those people come to yours and you're still, moseying about and meeting people because maybe these guys, have all the beef. Right. Maybe these guys have all the milk. You know what I mean? Like, you want to interact amongst your other places. And that's kind of how it was up in Callaway. You would have, 150 people up there, 100 of them be from Callaway and 50 of them be like me. They come from this area or the other parts of the county, and you get to know each other. Because that's the one thing about centralization for the high school that I think helped me, even though I'm against it now, is just that going to a high school right in the middle of a huge county, I've got friends in every single corner, every single one that I'm tight with, down to Henry, down to the lake, up here in Boone's Mill, Callaway, any direction you go, I know people, and my family knows people.
I still think they put all their eggs in one.
I don't agree with it now. Like I said, my plan would be move the high school to a university, move the middle school into, 11th to 12th grade if they want to do it, and everything else go back to your local elementary schools, turn them into, K through 10. You got your gym, you got your cafeteria, you got everything.
The infrastructure is there.
Yeah. And it builds your community. I mean,
that's a great start to that debate.
So what happened with the landfill? Because I know that's kind of a big deal down there, and I've seen a lot of people, different social media. I follow you mostly on Facebook, and I've got different kinds of people that follow me on the different pages. My Twitter crowd is a little different than the Facebook crowd. Facebook's a little different than Instagram, but I've seen people across platforms that I don't know if you're connected with them or not, been talking about this thing. And so, how did it get to be so contentious?
Well, about a year ago, there was a big report at the Moss 3 site that they wanted to do they were going to open an industrial site in this little town of Carbo at the old Moss 3 site. That particular site was famous back in the 80s for the coal mining strike when Jesse Jackson and all of them were over there. So they had put this big press release out that it was centrally located to rail and had infrastructure. And immediately I thought that something about this doesn't sound right, because if you can't get people to come into your county seat, what are the chances you're going to get somebody to come in over at at Carbo literally in the middle of nowhere? So something about it didn't set right with me. And then a few months after that, you start hearing rumors, well, they're putting a landfill over there. That doesn't make sense either. So, Amy Branson, Brandy Hurley, Jennifer Chumley, and all of them started submitting FOIAs and asking questions. I guess how the rumor even got started is that they had sent out letters to surrounding landowners to alert them that this could be happening. And after a year, we found out that there's a company called Russell County Reclamation. Two of the individuals involved in that are the same ones that were influential in bringing the casino over in Bristol. So we're talking big money people. Mm-hmm. After finding out about it, we found out that there's really not a lot known, honestly, because they are hiding behind executive session. A lot of these things are talking
LLCs.
LLCs, right?
They know how to do it.
We've gotten gotten a hold of a couple of the host agreements. This last one is saying that it could be up to 10,000 tons of trash per day. The site is 1,700 acres, and that would rival one of the biggest ones in the entire world.
And now you're talking about them as well, importing trash
from New York, Pennsylvania.
No, that's the gig. That's where it's like jails. They work the same way. I mean, they pull them from around and make money off of it.
Right. They're talking about railing it in, bringing trucks in. You know, those roads back there are just tiny, tiny roads. The amount of damage that's going to be done to the roads, the leaking of the train cars throughout these communities. This isn't going to just affect Russell County. This is all of Southwest Virginia, because they're not going to just come in through one area.
Does it involve any hazardous waste?
Well, that's up for debate. The host agreement doesn't say hazardous. It says that it involves industrial waste.
That's not good.
I've talked to several people that have worked up in New York that have been in, loading these train cars to rail it everywhere. And he said that, they can't differentiate. They just dump it in these warehouses. And the only thing that they're looking for are body parts to determine what's going into these.
I mean, and the reason I asked that, being cynical, as I have been accused of before, is when you're dealing with hazardous waste and rail transportation, there appears to be an increased risk of them falling off the very rails that they are supposed to be on.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So there's been all sorts of
issues. Been so many conversations about how it's going to be handled. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bristol landfill and the things that are going on over there. It's basically a rock quarry that they were piling trash on, and now they've had issues with leachate getting out everywhere. The smell, you can smell that landfill all the way over in Abingdon, and some of the environmental problems. They've had to close it down. Richmond's having to provide millions of dollars just for cleanup. Some of the same people that were in charge of the cleanup and failed at it are the same ones that Russell County hired to do a feasibility study, I guess you could say. And one of the things that we found out early on with that is that they didn't do any of their own research to see if it was even possible. They used the information that the company wanting to put the landfill in to provide. Provided it right to them. So
that's beautiful. That's kind of like one of those, and government, we just investigated ourselves and we didn't do anything wrong kind of deals.
And one of to add insult to injury, I guess you could say, is that the taxpayer paid $50,000 for that study. And I'm like, why would you not do your own research? Why would you because of course the company that's wanting to put in this landfill is going to, lie about it, or potentially lie, allegedly, your word, lie about it.
Well done.
It's just, it blows my mind, because we had actually submitted a FOIA for this. Not we, Amy Branson had submitted a FOIA for this. In my mind, that should be a document. If it's been paid for by taxpayer dollars, that should be something readily available to the public. And our county attorney and our county administrator fought her just so hard over that document. They had to go to court. It's a whole
that is
thing.
Insane.
It's absolutely insane.
Like, you work for us,
right?
You corrupted assholes. I mean, it should not be that hard. It should be, I want to see that's public information. Right. It's not classified. You're not James frickin' Bond over here.
It even gets worse than that, because when the day of that court appearance, the county attorney for Russell County is Delegate Terry Kilgore. And he decided that they were going to postpone it. He had invoked some kind of vague statute where they didn't have to appear in court if the legislative body's in session. Mm-hmm. So they postponed it. During that time, we had a public hearing. It ended up coming out anyway, and there's really nothing in it. So other than the fact that they didn't do their own research and they just took the word of the landowner to put it in there. Another part about it that doesn't sit right with the public is that they won't tell us how big it's going to be. At the public hearing, they said, well, it's only going to be 30 acres, which is stupid big anyway, but there's potential for it to be 1,700 acres. The largest landfill in the world is just over 2,000 acres, and that's over near Las Vegas in Nevada. This would rival that.
Yeah, you got a lot more space of nothingness out there.
Right. I mean, it's just desert. We're not even getting into the conversation about the lining. That site sits over a fault line. There's no protections for all the money that they've spent putting into ecotourism. This just seems like the stupidest move that they could possibly make. The chairman of the board, Steve Breeding, he likes to talk about, well, we're going to have to, trash has to go somewhere. I get it, but do we have to import trash from other counties, other states, other regions?
Well, they say, we're getting paid to do it. Yeah, but you're getting paid to destroy your own community.
Right.
I mean, there's no more worse deal with the devil. I mean, make no mistake about this. I mean, this is a huge deal because if this goes down there, that's what all the suits in corporate world love to just shit on Appalachia. And this is just another thing they're like, well, let's just start importing all of our trash and moving it there. And next county will be down. And the next county will be down. Like, you got to stop this crap right here. I mean, this is your land, your drinking water. This is
how dare they?
Well, and they're sending their worst stuff. They're going to be sending their worst trash. I mean, it's not like they're going to be sending.
These people need to be embarrassed.
Well,
this isn't a legal argument. We can go down so many paths of it's against this statute, blah blah blah. As representatives of that area, these folks need to be embarrassed.
Well, it goes back to the last election, too. This came out, the rumors and some of the information started coming out after the primaries, and it was found out that this had been hidden from the public for at least 2 years when the conversations had started. And then for them to go over there, while that they know that information, and to say this is going to be an industrial site, knowing full and well that was never in the plans.
It was just
that's what infuriates me.
Oh yeah, industrial site, like how they change a definition of vaccine and things. They use language and words.
Well, each state probably has their own definition of what industrial waste is,
right?
And so you're going to get the worst that these states have to offer is going to all be coming to that same place.
And they can't make any promises. I mean, nothing's 100% proof, foolproof, that this isn't going to negatively affect the public in some way. And I just wish that they had done their due diligence prior to allowing it to get to this point, because DEQ hasn't even said that it's feasible. The Environmental Protection Agency hasn't even had their say. I mean, we haven't even done our due diligence to see if it was something that wouldn't decimate the environment over there.
What are they claiming as the benefit? Are they a certain amount of money that it's going to get every year?
Well, that's the thing.
Here we go.
Allegedly, they had been negotiating. There was 2 board members, Steve Breeding and Lou Ann Wallace, had been negotiating a host agreement for several months, maybe even up to a year. It was leaked to one of the members of the No Landfill group, the first host agreement. There wasn't really anything in there. It was in its infancy. But at this last board meeting, one of the big host agreements had come out. And we were supposed to have a public hearing about it. People were putting in their 2 cents. And at the last minute, it gets canceled because they said, well, that's not the final host agreement. It was favoring heavily the landowner and the things that they were going to be able to come in with. That the county wasn't getting that much money, really not much benefit from it. So my question to them was, what in the world have you all been negotiating if you had to mark up this host agreement that much to send back, which is what they're supposed to be voting on tonight? But I just don't know what they've been doing for the last several months, up to a year, if the landowner is trying to get that much over on the county. So what Chairman Breeding says is that, it's costing us substantially more, and it's going to go up in the next 3 years to take Russell County trash to the next landfill over, which I believe is in Blountville.
Tennessee.
Yeah. So they're looking at ways to try to save $1 there. We don't want to raise taxes. I get that, but I also don't want to decimate an entire region for $1. And they can't, they won't talk about it. It's the thing. People have questions. We're treated as being adversarial.
No,
I mean, that's the way that it comes across. They just,
it's just such a big decision. It's not something you can just roll back.
Right.
Once you got a landfill going, you're done. I mean, that area is set.
The caveats behind that have to be Loctite.
Right. And that's information that we still haven't gotten. They haven't, been very forthcoming with it. They said, well, you can't FOIA that because it was discussed in executive session. We have these executive sessions because, we don't want another business to steal this idea. Well, it's not like a bank is coming in or a specific type of restaurant. Who else is going to come in and say, I'm going to put in a landfill?
That's an excuse.
It's very it is. And it's a stupid excuse. So one of the things that I preach about on Patriots is that just the lack of transparency in this government, whether we defeat this landfill or not, if we don't get elected leaders in there that stop abusing this executive session thing, there's going to be another thing coming down the road, and it's probably going to be worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
So this
is rife. This is a problem not just exclusive to you, and it saddens me to say that. Engagement is required. We need,
another thing. I keep thinking of things that's popped up that just seem blatantly corrupt to me. The Russell County County Attorney Delegate Kilgore is also representing Clyde Stacy, who is in a lawsuit with Dharma Pharmaceuticals that has to do with the casino and the pharmaceutical agency. Anyway, he represents him, who also is part of this landfill group. So, of course, there's a conflict of interest there.
That's a clear conflict of interest.
So he was barred from discussing this with the county board of supervisors. Great. That's awesome. So the county went and hired their own attorney in Gentry Locke, which is fine, whatever. Well, last month, Delegate Kilgore, or County Kilgore, or Citizen Kilgore, I don't know what he was thinking, contacted Scott County board of supervisors, because all these counties surrounding Russell County have sent letters of opposition to this because they also were in the dark about all this. He contacted one of their board members and was strongly suggesting that they not do this.
You can't do that.
So, we're still waiting on information as to how he introduced himself. You cannot do any of those positions. To me, was a clear, he should have been fired the second that he made that call, and they still haven't done that. And
that's a clear. That's the Roberts rule.
Yeah.
You're done.
Well, that's just a giant weave of corruption, in my opinion. You've got so many hands in the pot, or whatever the expression is, about Clyde Stacy and Kilgore and Matney and people that aren't even from Russell County are wanting to do this, and it just doesn't seem like, with the exception of the 3 new board members that are on there, that anybody's voice is being heard. So at the end of the day, tonight they're voting to cease negotiations. I think a lot of people think that that's going to be the end of it, but I really don't think that's going to be the end of it.
No.
Russell County's not a zone county.
That's a stay of execution.
Right.
And that's how you have to view that.
Right.
But you know what? Time will give you an opportunity.
Right. So we'll see if it ends up coming in or not. It's just,
I hope they get that vote.
Yeah.
Well, people do need to pay attention. Like I said, 30 years ago, they dumped all the opiates on Appalachia first, and now we see where that's gotten this entire country.
And I think that's what people are so upset about. You have, speaking of coal, the coal barons that came in there and robbed everybody, and then they picked up shop and left. That's what this landfill is going to be. It's the exact same. I mean, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes.
Yep.
And this is the exact same thing that's going to happen.
It's an identical business model.
Exactly.
Yeah, they come in, they shit on us, and then they leave and leave us wondering. With us, right. And then they said and talk about how poor we are and how, hillbilly and backwoods we are. It's like, well, when you keep coming in and putting your boot on our neck, well,
just poisoning our water.
Exactly. Then what are you supposed to do? And it's difficult. Like we said we can go into huge conversations about, coal camps and how they look now and what those towns look like and what's happened to them. And, people want to revitalize them, but it's, some of them, it's just never going to happen again because the population has no reason to ever come back. You can, if you're smart enough, you can take a couple of them and fancy tourism and do the trails and stuff. You can have a little eatery in town and stuff, but hey, just take the land back. Take the land back and let people, exactly. It doesn't have to come back. But for the people that still are there, take it for yourself and realize if you don't stand up, if Russell County, you all don't stand, and people in surrounding counties too, because those water tables going to flow under y'all at some point in time. Yeah. Y'all to be showing up at the Board of Supervisors meeting as well, saying, look, we're not dealing with this because this is going to be here next. Right. So you have to step up, and I encourage everybody to do that because
it's just important to pay attention because I've been preaching for years now. Look, this is what they're doing. They shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be talking about that back there. I never knew. I was just scratching the surface of what was going on, and until you find out about things like this.
This is exactly what we're doing now, and we're not seeing a healthy underbelly.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Right.
And I encourage, you or anybody who wants to do it down in that region, look, get a show started. Get a podcast going. It doesn't take a lot. The one mic we took up there, I could actually use in DC because I screwed up and forgot the one cord, but I've set the one mic in the middle of the table. 4 of us sat around. And while this is in the middle of a giant room with a lot of media stuff going on. If you listen to the last show, from the convention, it came through phenomenal. Chip sounded great. I sounded so look, you don't need a lot, but if you get out there and talk to a couple people in your county that might have a little inside information, it might make them squirm just a little bit in your Board of Supervisors meetings. People that are educated, because what people do have time to do? They don't have time to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting because, we're paying twice as much for groceries and gas now. We're trying to keep our families fed. And people don't have time to sit there and watch it on the internet because at the end of the day, God dang it, they're freaking exhausted. They need an escape from all your bullshit. So they're going to, listen or watch something more entertaining. So that's how you win it. But a podcast, well, I can go up and down the road and listen to that in my car. Or I can listen to that in my headphones while I'm working equipment or I'm mowing the yard. It's just 30 minutes here and there. And then, now I go into my social media because I heard this on the podcast and I get on that Board of Supervisors page and I start letting them know this is some horse shit. That's all it takes. For us, we do a show here or there and it just lights a fire under their asses. And all of a sudden we're getting all kinds of comments and inside emails saying, hey, they're worried and they're doing this. Hey, good. Because people... So start podcasts. Like even if you're only getting 100 people listening, right. Your goal shouldn't be to be Joe Rogan. Your goal should be for those 100 people to encourage or talk to 5 other people, right. Because you got strength in numbers. We outnumber them significantly. Yeah. So, all right, we're about an hour and a half, so I'm going to cut it. We're going to go to our after show for about 20 minutes or so. Can you stick around for the next 20?
Absolutely.
We'll get a little bit more saucy and spicy over there. And I guess we'll talk about who we might have a legit chance at getting on the show here in the next little bit of time. So, where can they find you at?
Southwest Virginia Patriots right now on Facebook. We're starting a podcast and, just stay tuned. That's where you'll find the information.
Do you have a X or Instagram or anything like that?
Southwest Virginia Patriots on X as well.
Okay, should I have to give you a follow over there? I don't know if I've done that or not because all the good stuff is over there on Facebook and me trying to. That's why I need people to go become subscribers and listen to our after show here at patreon.com/getontap.
Dime a day.
I need to have
just a dime.
a minimum.
Just a
minimum.
dime.
You can give more if you drive fancy cars or you're making administrative salaries and at schools and your music is being blasted on our show all the time, you can probably afford to give more than $3 a month. But either way, if we can get enough subscribers out there, I'd like to have somebody to help me out with my social media pages, because God, it gets exhausting at times. Sometimes my wife helps out on Facebook, and Chip helps me out on Instagram quite a bit, because I'll look and have a message. But I got collaboration, boom, I ain't got to do nothing. So that's nice. And we're over 7,000 now on Instagram. I think we're moving in on 15,000 on X, and Facebook's taking off again now that our ban is gone, which we'll talk about that in the after show as well, about our fan of the week, who shared one of our recent posts and suggested that, I can't say it because kids might be listening, but we'll talk about our fan of the week and things like that. So, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Chip over here at Being Libertarian. Of course, you can find all his stuff at Being Libertarian on X, Twitter, Instagram, all phenomenal sites. The best memes in the business. And we're hopefully get back to the point over there too. I can start finding ways to chip in and help and actually make it more of a media page, because I was going down the road thinking today, I was like, man, there's so much that brand could do if we find the right people and the right motivated people that want to kind of chip in. There's so much that brand can do.
And big niche there.
Yeah. So, and Simon, appreciate you once again.
It's always a pleasure, Billy. Always.
So go to patreon.com/GetOnTap, subscribe, and get this after show. It's going to be a little spicy. We're going to talk about some big guests coming up, and we're going to talk about our fan of the week who, wants to do things with wood chippers. I don't know. So, all right. We'll see y'all next time.
Taught me how to shoot a gun just before that war begun. Then he left to take a stand, shed his blood for this great land. Now I'm leaving my home, across the fields I do roam. I got nowhere to go, I'm headed down to Mexico. Don't know if things could get much worse. Daddy must have left me with some curse. Called a man with my wife, I loaded up and I took their lives. Now I'm leaving my home, across the fields I do roam. I got nowhere to go, I'm headed down to Mexico. Bottle, got nowhere to live. Hate this life that I'm living, don't know how much more I can give. Now I'm leaving my home, across the fields